It's good to be back in this region of Southern Caucasus. Just a few weeks ago, I paid a chair-in-office visit to Azerbaijan, to Georgia, and to Armenia. Such a great region that could have a very good future if it avoids conflicts. We had very substantial discussions, and I have vivid memories of the great hospitality we received. I commend Azerbaijan and I commend you, President Aliyev, for hosting this summer session of the OSCE Parliamentary Assembly. I see it as an expression of Azerbaijan's commitment to the OSCE and to the organization's role in the democratization. On behalf of the Swiss chairmanship, I extend a warm welcome to all of you. Standing here in front of you, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to start by telling you how much respect I feel. Respect first for the task of chairing this organization at a time when many people see the security decrease as a result of new tensions. Respect also in view of the terrible things that happen to people in conflict, sometimes in the limelight of media attention, but more often than not, just in silent dramas. Respect, finally, for all those who engage on all levels to win the best of all fights, namely the fights for freedom, the fight for security, and the fight for peace. My opening address today coincides with the halfway point in the Swiss chairmanship of the OSCE. It is half-time. This is an opportune moment to take a step back, to reflect on our efforts and accomplishment during these last 6 months, and to draw some conclusions for the way ahead, both for the Swiss chairmanship and for the OSCE as an organization. The Ukraine crisis obviously has dominated the first 6 months of our chairmanship, but we have also been busy advancing other chairmanship priorities. I will make some remark on both, the management of the Ukraine crisis on one side and our pursuit of other chairmanship activities on the other side, before drawing some conclusions for the future of the OSCE and the Helsinki Plus 40 process. Let's start with Ukraine, and let me start with 4 first names. Lukas, Lars, Töris, Mehmet, 4 first names, 4 monitors who had been deprived of their freedom and of their ability to work for peace, who came free 2 nights ago, after more than 4 weeks. All 4 of them represent the strengths of the OSCE, its human touch, its proximity to the people, and its proximity to the conflicts, its spirit of peace. They are a symbol for our tireless common efforts to de-escalate the crisis in Ukraine. The Ukraine crisis has indeed topped the agenda of the Swiss chairmanship since day one. This is partly because the OSCE as a security organization has been directly affected by the development regarding Ukraine. OSCE principles, as defined in the Helsinki Final Act, have been put into question. These principles include, actually, respect for territorial integrity, the inviolability of the borders, respect for human rights as well, and the peaceful settlement of disputes. But there is a second reason why the Ukraine crisis has dominated the first half of our chairmanship. The OSCE has been able to demonstrate its ability to assist Ukraine in overcoming this crisis. The OSCE has proven valuable in 2 major ways. First, it is an inclusive platform for dialogue. The OSCE is no party to the Ukraine crisis. It is the only regional organization that brings together all major stakeholders in the crisis to discuss the differences and try to define cooperative solutions. The OSCE serves as a bridge in a European security context currently marked by polarization and the risk of estrangement. Second, the OSCE can deliver on the ground. It is an impartial, it is a credible actor for stability in Ukraine. The OSCE has managed to make full use of the tools at its disposal. There is the Special Monitoring Mission. There have been visits and reports by the High Commissioner on National Minorities and by the representative on freedom of the media. There has been the Human Rights Assessment Mission by the Office of Democratic Institutions and Human Rights and by the High Commissioner on National Minorities. And there was the election observation by the ODIHR and by you, by the Parliamentary Assembly. And the chairmanship has come up with a broad range of activities too. This includes ongoing high-level consultation with all sides, the nomination of a personal representative and of other high-level representatives for special tasks, and almost 50 chair-in-office statements on the Ukraine crisis, and we have also proposed a roadmap, an operational one, on de-escalating the situation, which helped provide a conducive environment for the early presidential elections at the end of May. At the heart of the OSCE engagement in Ukraine today lies a special monitoring mission. This mission has been mandated to contribute to reducing tensions and fostering peace, stability and security by a consensus decision of all 57 participating states. This consensus decision of March 21st was a milestone for the OSCE, demonstrated that compromise is still possible, ladies and gentlemen, despite big differences. And it entrusted the OSCE with a major role in stabilizing the situation in Ukraine. Today there are more than 220 civilian monitors providing verified information on the security situation and on specific incidents. Their gathering of facts and regular reporting based on the principle of impartiality and transparency have proven invaluable in a conflict environment where distorted information, biased interpretations and harsh language abound. I am grateful to the more than 40 participating states and also the 2 Asian partners for cooperation that have seconded monitors and provided the necessary funding for this important mission. As I mentioned at the beginning, 4 OSCE monitors who have been detained for 32 days were released 2 nights ago. I am grateful to everyone who contributed to this positive development. But despite the fact that there is movement in the last hours, I wish to recall that 4 other monitors are still not free. Taking hostages is unacceptable. It is illegal. It sabotages the ongoing international efforts to overcome the crisis, and I call again for their speedy and unconditional release. The peace plan presented by Ukrainian President Poroshenko may bring further tasks for the OSCE and the SMM. I assured President Poroshenko and Foreign Minister Klimkin that the OSCE is ready to support Ukraine in implementing this plan. Potential OSCE support roles include monitoring, verification mechanisms for the ceasefire and also for the effective control of the border. The OSCE could also assist in vacating illegally occupied buildings, and in disarming illegally armed groups. Many of these contributions of the OSCE depend, however, on a more permissive security situation and security guarantees by separatist groups. Together with a representative of Ukraine and of Russia, the OSCE chairmanship, represented by Ambassador Heidi Tagliavini, is part of a trilateral contact group that acts as a steering body to accompany the implementation of the peace plan. Consultation of this contact group with representatives of separatist groups resulted in a common understanding that included support of the separatists for the ceasefire. I welcome President Poroshenko's decision to extend this ceasefire. All possible efforts must now be undertaken to turn the ceasefire into a durable cessation of violence and to advance toward the launch of a political process to peacefully settle the crisis. The Swiss chairmanship has informed all parties concerned that the OSCE is ready to play its part. I call upon everyone to now take courageous steps of peace and to settle differences through dialogue rather than further violence. There is no other good solutions. The crisis has hit Ukraine hard. Rebuilding will take a lot of efforts and much solidarity of the international community. The crisis has also devastated people's lives. Every life lost, every house destroyed, and every dream broken is one too many. The crisis and the violence have left a deep mark on the Ukrainian society. It will take a long time to heal the wounds. Those responsible for grave violation of human rights must be held accountable. It will be crucial for the unity of the country that it starts to work towards reconciliation. But for all this to happen, the most important thing is that violence stops now. We will need many more Lucas, many more Lars, many more Cheris and Mehmets to restore peace, people with courage, people with a vision. In some ways, the Ukraine crisis has given momentum to the OSCE, ladies and gentlemen. Our organization has demonstrated its ability to build bridges, both among participating states and on the ground. After years of limited interest, let's say like that, in the OSCE, in many capitals, there is growing recognition of how important such an anchor of cooperative security is for European security for us all. Can this OSCE momentum be transformed into durable positive dynamics for the organization? This will partly depend on the future course of events concerning this Ukraine crisis. If the OSCE can contribute to a sustainable de-escalation of the situation, both through dialogue and through common action, the prospect of revitalizing it will no doubt augment. But let us be clear. The Ukraine crisis continues to confront the OSCE with major challenges, challenges that can easily put the momentum into question. While there is common action on the ground, participating states remain divided about the causes and the preferred outcome of the crisis. Differences over strategic issues that had weakened European security well before the crisis have exacerbated as a result of recent events, and the erosion of trust that we have observed over a number of years has no doubt accelerated. All this suggests a mixed, balanced sheet. There is momentum, but it is momentum with a question mark. In order to keep it alive, we need to take a broad approach. We obviously will continue our efforts to a peaceful settlement of the Ukraine crisis, but we must also seek to preserve and advance cooperation in other OSCE issues, limiting negative spillovers from the Ukraine dossier to the OSCE other matters and seizing opportunities for strengthening cooperation instead are important tasks of the Swiss chairmanship. In this context, let me draw your attention to a recent study on national threat perception in the OSCE area that was produced by the OSCE Academic Network. This study maintains that while perception of external threats partly diverge in the OSCE area, perception of domestic and transnational threats largely converge. What the study essentially says is this: for all the differences over Ukraine and some other issues of European security, our countries still share many common threats and interests. This provides a good basis for cooperation. And the Swiss chairmanship is inspired by this sort of thinking. There is scope for cooperation and there is need for cooperation. From cooperation comes trust and confidence, and building confidence and security through cooperation has been the essence of this organization for almost 40 years now. We should make the most of it. We should do so not just for the security of states, but also for our people. We are here by the people and for the people. We should have a genuine dialogue on those issues on which we disagree, and we should seek to advance cooperation wherever common ground exists. The future of European security and of the OSCE also depends on willingness to continue cooperating despite differences on some strategic questions. This brings me to the question, ladies and gentlemen, of where we are at half-time in terms of implementing the Swiss chairmanship priorities. Where are we? As we can see on the tableau of Swiss priorities that was distributed to you, we are pursuing 3 objectives. First, to promote security and stability. Second, to improve people's living conditions. And third, to strengthen the OSCE capacity to act. I do not have the time to brief you in details on our activities in all priority issues, but let me make a few observations. First of all, there have been a lot of meetings, not only high-level and political ones, but also very direct, very personal ones, with young, with old persons, with old people who have suffered from war, have lost a lot, have been displaced. I consider these personal meetings during this year as chair a privilege. Our efforts to promote reconciliation and regional cooperation in the Western Balkans have met with a constructive response. During a chair-in-office visit to Serbia, Kosovo and Albania, we discussed possible ways forward. My special representative, in close collaboration with the OSCE mission in Kosovo, has contributed to the normalization of relations between Belgrade and Pristina and is actively promoting the implementation of the agreement between the parties. We are planning a high-level regional conference to promote regional cooperation on migration in the second half of 2014 and are working closely with Serbia as the upcoming chair. As mentioned, I also travelled to the South Caucasus, where the Swiss chairmanship seeks to promote dialogue and confidence building. In the Nagorno-Karabakh context, we hope that an intensified and structured negotiation process can be relaunched in the nearest future. We are also enabling the exchange between high-level mediators and civil society actors involved in dialogue processes. As for Georgia, my special representative co-moderates the Geneva International Discussions, a unique platform which allows all stakeholders to discuss the consequences of the 2008 conflict. During my visit to Georgia, we also discussed the possibility of an enhanced engagement of the OSCE. I had the opportunity to meet the participants of the Incident Prevention and Response Mechanism in Ernieti at the administrative boundary line. This mechanism has proven to be an indispensable instrument for pragmatic cooperation across dividing lines. The political military dimension of the OSCE is clearly the one that is most affected by the Ukraine crisis. In these circumstances, adapting the Vienna document, ladies and gentlemen, on military transparency and confidence-building measures to the military environment of the 21st century continues to be a challenge. Still, we will keep pursuing this issue, not least because the Ukraine crisis has made evident how essential it is with regard to improving people's lives. The Swiss chairmanship has actively promoted the implementation of commitment of the human dimension. Switzerland has been able to put the issues of combating torture and of human rights defenders back on the OSCE agenda. We aim for consensus among the participating states for a ministerial decision on the prevention of torture. In the field of transnational threats, the Swiss chairmanship organized an international conference on the fight against terrorism. OSCE participating states, as well as representatives from civil society and academia as well, discussed the issues of kidnapping for ransom, counterterrorism and human rights, and particularly timely on the background of events in Iraq, in Syria, elsewhere, foreign fighters. The recommendation presented by the Swiss chairmanship will hopefully trigger further discussion within the OSCE and lead as well to a ministerial council decision in Basel. Strengthening the OSCE's capacity to act looks more important than ever in the light of the Ukraine crisis. I will talk about the Helsinki +40 process in a minute. Let me just point out here that efforts to build up capacity in the field of mediation in this field are already underway. As a country with much tradition and expertise in the field of mediation, Switzerland is committed to strengthening OSCE mediation capacities in our chairmanship year and also beyond. we go ahead, not only for 1 year of presidency, but also for the security of the future. Under our guidance, mediation support capacities have been built up regarding training, knowledge management, operational support, tailor-made coaching services have been provided for my special representatives on protracted conflicts. Cooperation with other international and regional organizations has been strengthened. There is now an OSCE group of Friends of Mediation founded under the initiative of Finland, Turkey and Switzerland. The group will promote the use of OSCE mediation to find peaceful solutions in conflict situations. Final point I wish to make about our Swiss priorities concern the effort to strengthen the voice of civil society, and particularly, ladies and gentlemen, the voice of young people in the OSCE area. Together with the OSCE institution, we have organized 3 regional civil society workshops in Belgrade, Dushanbe and Vienna, and a 4th workshop will be held in Tbilisi in September and will bring together civil society representatives of the region of South Caucasus. The recommendation developed in the workshop will be adopted at the Civil Society Conference in Basel, and Switzerland intends to introduce a recommendation to the Ministerial Council. In order to attract young people's interest for the OSCE and to learn about their needs and expectations, Switzerland has also set up a model OSCE. I met our youth ambassadors from the 57 participating states during their first round of negotiation on a youth action plan in Vienna. A second round of negotiation will take place in Belgrade next week, and our youth ambassadors will present the youth action plan in the context of the Ministerial Council in Basel in December. We want their work to become the basis for an OSCE youth action plan to be negotiated during the Serbian chairmanship next year. We want the OSCE to be younger. The bottom line of this brief overview of our chairmanship activities is this: the Ukraine crisis, ladies and gentlemen, has clearly had an impact on some of the Swiss priority issues, but while uncertainties as to what can be accomplished have grown, opportunities remain. Switzerland is committed to pursuing these opportunities and reinforcing positive dynamics to the extent possible. We count on the support of all participating states to help define constructive solutions to pressing common challenges. We count on all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now give you my take of Helsinki plus 40. I welcome the fact that you are addressing this key issue. I'm also glad to see that the Parliamentary Assembly has defined a broad-based and structured process with high-level meetings with parliamentarians and experts from distinguished think tanks and academic institutions on the question of OSCE reform. We will follow this process with great interest, and we will look forward to hearing about the outcome of your deliberation. There is an Helsinki plus 40 roadmap structuring current work in Vienna on OSCE reform. It defines 8 thematic clusters. 1 coordinator per cluster was designated to move the process forward. The roadmap's objective is to push the reform process based on relevant topics such as the conflict cycle, transnational threats and the human dimension, and to put forward specific proposals on how to improve the organization in the respective thematic areas. Many of these discussions have proven challenging in the face of the Ukraine crisis, and progress has been slow, ladies and gentlemen. But the Helsinki plus 40 process is now more needed than ever. It must be continued if we really want to have more security for our people in the future. The Ukraine crisis gives, however, occasion to reconsider what it is that we seek to accomplish with Helsinki plus 40. Reforming the OSCE and adapting the organization to the security needs of the 21st century no doubt remain important. But Helsinki plus 40 should be more than that. I see Helsinki plus 40 as a 2-track process. First, it is about strengthening this organization, strengthening the OSCE. This requires more capacities and also more trust The OSCE has demonstrated its conflict management capability during the Ukraine crisis. Its expertise and the operational capacities in mediation and conflict prevention should be further strengthened and extended. We require institutions that are able to fully put in place the potential available to them. We also need to put greater emphasis on conflict prevention. In this regard, our OSCE missions in the field missions play a vital role in terms of early warning. These capabilities need to be strengthened. Capacity can also be enhanced through effective institutional cooperation. I'm thinking of effective partnerships with other international organizations. For example, the OSCE and the Council of Europe organized a conference on trafficking in human beings this February. I would welcome the possibility to join CARIAT activities with the current chair of the Council of Europe, Azerbaijan. I'm also thinking of constructive exchanges between the governmental side of the OSCE and the Parliamentary Assembly. Addressing you here is important for me as CEO, as chairperson in office, and the Swiss chairmanship looks forward to hosting you in Geneva in early October. The benefits of cooperation have also been shown in relation between the Parliamentary Assembly and the Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights. Their effective common endeavour in observing the presidential elections in Ukraine is a case in point. As to the need for rebuilding trust to strengthen the OSCE, we will need to find a way to recommit to the fundamental value and principle of the Helsinki Final Act. This will take some time and require a genuine debate on why the consensus on European security has eroded over past years and on why we have come to perceive some threats differently. The second track of Helsinki Plus 40 is about using this process as a starting point, not an ending one, a starting point for a discussion on the future of European security. The Helsinki Plus 40 process is focusing on the vision of a security community as set out in the Astana Declaration of 2010. Against the background of the Ukraine crisis, the fleshing out of this vision is ever more complex. The Ukraine crisis points to the need to readdress basic issues of European security, such as conventional arms control. We must also take another look at Europe's security architecture. I am convinced that the OSCE, an inclusive platform of 57 participating states, is the right kind of hub for these debates. Now that association agreements, ladies and gentlemen, between the EU and Ukraine, Georgia and Moldova have been signed, Europe's trade architectures is also something we must look into. We should do everything possible to enable these countries to act as trade bridges and not to act as trade frontiers. The Ukraine crisis has shown that devising a non-exclusionary trade system is an important component of European security and stability. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to work hard for getting closer. Our future and the future of the next generations will be better and will be more secure if we find a common way to avoid dividing East and West. I thank you for searching for such ways. I thank you for being here, and I wish you constructive debates on this, and I look forward to meeting you in Geneva, in my country, Switzerland. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, President BURKHALTER. Now we have time just for the few questions, as you promised. Just 2 or 3. Congressman Smith is first one. Please. Yes, the floor is yours. Yeah, Congressman Smith.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And first of all, President Aliyev, as chairman, as special representative for trafficking, I do want to thank you for increasing combating child sex trafficking. Your recent proposals to change the definition to take out force, fraud, and coercion for those who have not attained the age of 18 is a very